Hi, my name's Kenneth. I'm one of the technical consultants here at Mozenda. The purpose of this video is to go over replacing page list actions. So we're going to go over what to do if your page list action does not work, also how to use a parameter to replace a page list, and also how to dynamically capture the total amount of pages for multiple lists. Sometimes page list actions within Mozenda do not function as we expect. This may be caused by how the websites load new pages of content, or simply just poorly written HTML of the web page that cannot be simplified through XPath. If the web page loads each new page with a unique URL, you can replace your page list action with a dynamic input list. The first way to know if this is even possible is to go to a web page that you're wanting to scrape, then examine the URL of each page and see if there's some sort of pattern that identifies it. So let's check out an example. So I'm going to a particular wedding site and I'm scraping wedding venues in Northern California. So each time I'm going to see if there's some sort of pattern, a unique URL for each page to replace a potential page list I want to use. So I'm going to click on page 2, and you notice if we're looking up at the top, each time I click on a page, the number changes. So when I go to page 3, it changes to page 3. So by identifying this pattern, I know that I can replicate it inside the web console with an input list. So the first step of doing this is to take the import list of the amount of page numbers. So before I even go in the agent builder, I need to know how many pages there are. So a lot of page lists are very different, but in this case I can select the 2 double arrows here and it'll take me to the last page. And I can see that there are 26 total pages. So I need to have some sort of input list of page numbers, and I'll show you what this looks like in a second, that has up to 26 pages. Now let's go to the agent builder and check this out. Okay, so I'm on my destination page. I'm going ahead and going to select start a new agent from this page. So once here, the first step I need to do is I need to import the data list of the page numbers. So this is a CSV file typically created in Excel that just has page numbers of 1 to the amount of total pages there are. In this particular example, there are 26 total pages. So I should import a data list of 1 to 26. So I'm going to do that now by selecting Add Action, Input List. So when I select Input List, I have 3 possible actions I can select. I can import a file, a collection, or a manual entry. I'm going to select Import a File. Okay, I'm going to browse my computer and I'm going to go to my input list for 1 through 26 here. Now this is a CSV file. This is really important. It cannot be an Excel file. It can only be read as a CSV file. Another important thing to note is this checkbox. The first row in this file contains a field name. So we're going to say yes. We're going to import the file and create a collection. I can double click to see my data list of 1 through 26. Perfect. So now what I need to do is create a load page action that will include the URL and leave the parameter page that will take me to each page on page 2. So let's do this now. Add action, load new page, and I'm going to grab the URL. So I'm just going to go back to the website. I can do this in the builder or in the web page. So I'm just going to grab that URL and paste it in here. Now you'll notice I'm missing the page, so I'm going to put in a parameter so it's dynamic. And my parameter is the field name, which is simply page. And then I'm going to say add page. This will take me to page 2, when then I can then capture my list. What this will do is dynamically go through each page where I can capture my list. So I'm just going to capture my list now of the vendors and say vendor name. And it will do that dynamically for each page. Pretty simple so far. But a lot of times, what if you are navigating to multiple lists that may have different amount of pages? For example, what if I'm going to, say, wedding venues in Northern California and Southern California and maybe a different state? Well, obviously the search amount of results could change. But the process will be the same. So I'm going to actually remove page 2 and show you how to do if there's multiple lists. And I'm going to remove this data list as well. So the first thing you need to do now is you need to create a capture action that captures the total amount of pages. To do this, A lot of times websites will provide the total amount of pages on the side. It'll say 1 of 10 or 1 of 20. However, this site does not. But I do know that inside this link, it takes me to the last page. So I should be able to find the last page number inside the DOM to be able to capture it. So I'm going to select my DOM window down at the bottom. And I'm going to look down here and notice that in the HTML, I do see where it says the page, which is 26. We know that's the final page. So I'm going to right click on this action and say capture text and call this total page. So what we're going to do is create a parameter that gives us a total amount of pages in an index form. And I'll show you what this looks like. I'm going to go to save and refine. I need to switch it from text to HTML. And then go over here and say where the page equals, get that information. So page equals, and just get that number. Okay. The next thing I need to do, because I need to be an index, I need to go 1 through 26 and not just 26 pages. I need to put the 1 through before this. So this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky. We're going to use some of our regular expression skills that we've learned before. So we're going to go to content replacements now. And we're going to select new, a text replacement, check the box that says regular expression, and then we're going to isolate our group. So what is our group? Our group is the number that we're capturing, so 26. So what I'm going to do is say page equals the same thing as before, and then put in parentheses my grouping, which should be just a number. So remember, this needs to be dynamic for every single list you're going to. So to do this, I'm just going to put a /d plus to pick up the number in my grouping, and then obviously I'm going to close it with the quotes there just to be a little more specific. Now I'm going to say 1 through, remember I need my index, and you can see it putting up here replacing it, 1 through, so we're replacing this whole thing, 1 through, and then $1. What that does is it puts in 1 through 26. You now see that here. I can change this around because you'll notice I'm not capturing anything in my capture definition, so I need to go back to my capture definition and get this. So this will now change to venues, which will always be the same, /? I could leave pages there, or I could say, put pages in my content replacement. It doesn't matter. Or I could even go here and say pages equals, and that will put that back in there, and I can go back to my capture definition and put this guy back as pages equals. And I get 1 through 26. This is what I needed to capture. For every single list, it's going to capture a different amount, but it's always going to put the 1 through. Okay, so I'm going to save it. Now I'm going to import a data list of the pages. Now this needs to be a large list. Typically I just use a generic one of 1 through 1,000. So I'm going to import file, browse, and I have that 1 through 1,000 here open. So it's called pages. Import, create collection. Okay, so if I double click here, I'll see there's 1,000. Now what I can do is put a parameter in here for my index and say, only give me the total page. So once I do this, input this, I can save it. So now what's going to happen is it will be activated when I test the agent, and it will only do 1 through 26. Now I'm going to repeat the same process as before and do a load page action. So I'm just going to go back here, grab this URL, paste that in, and put my page number, which was just page, which was the field inside the data list. It was the same field name, and say add page. See, it takes me to page 1, and it will go 1 through 26. Now I can create the same process as before, capture my data list, and get my data. So now I've replicated this dynamically. So every time it goes to a new page, a new list, different areas with different amount of results, it's going to go 1 through the amount of pages that are found here. So that about wraps up how to replace page lists. Feel free to reach out to our support team if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.